Okay, so today to deepen with ourselves, actually, it's going to be for the next 3 days. The game we're going to be playing to deepen our connection with ourselves and inquire further in there, we're going to be trying to maintain a state of thrill and exhilaration and just like aliveness, extreme aliveness for 3 straight days. Now, that doesn't mean that you will be in a state of full exhilaration for the time entirely, but it just means that it's the cue that we're going for. When we feel ourselves dropping out of that state, we're going to use methods or attempt to get ourselves back into that state, okay? And also, let me define that state a little bit more, because I don't mean just like hair on fire, complete adrenaline, that kind of thrill that's just like, whatever, on the edge, like danger or something like that. I don't mean that. I mean exhilarated, like in this warm, happy, bubbly way. Exhilarated like you could just like squeal with delight or excitement in that way. But it doesn't have to be amped up excitement. It could be very peaceful and gentle type of, excitement or exhilaration, just like I feel extra alive and my insides are just like fluttering with aliveness. And that can be, especially depending on the type of person you are, and that is already something that we are inquiring about with ourselves, especially if the gentle stuff, smooth and gentle and peaceful and, sort of a more serene energy is what allows you to feel more of that butterfly fluttering of alive energy. And that makes you feel more exhilarated. But it's the butterfly flutter of aliveness within you. And, when and how does that happen for you? And so already I've given away the first step, right? The first step is, when and how does that happen for me? What do I do when I feel that? When does that come up for me? When do I feel exhilarated? Exhilarated, it doesn't have to mean like adrenaline. It just means like exhilaration in that most smooth form of that energy. When does that happen for me? What types of things historically? What stories can I run through, things that have happened in my life, and when does that come up? And then, because that's what we've got to figure out. When does that come up, and kind of define it for ourselves a little bit? What flavor really does it for me? Is it the gentle stuff, or is it the really highly adventurous, going out and doing the stuff that I never do kind of, thing that gets you to that place of exhilaration? Because that's totally possible too. I just wanted to clarify that it wasn't only that I was talking about. It's your own flavor, your own style. When and where does it happen? And get to know your own flavor. That's step one, right? Because we can't even try to keep ourselves there if we don't even know where there is. And then the next step is, okay, what kind of things can I replicate? I could replicate some of those moments, if it's like when I'm doing adventurous things, well, I can do adventurous things. Or if it's when I'm, peacefully, relaxing in a jacuzzi, getting a massage, which is a real story. There is someone that I knew. In fact, the very first time I heard of an activity like this was this woman who just felt that sense of aliveness and exhilaration when she was in the jacuzzi, kind of pampering herself. And so she, made sure to carve out jacuzzi time every day, to, sustain or revisit and resupply her fuel, by getting herself into the state of exhilaration, which is where we're going with this, right? This is what we're doing to deepen with ourselves. We're trying to find ways to refuel ourselves, trying to find places where aliveness lives within us, and be able to develop the control and the awareness of ourselves to recreate that. And then perhaps develop a strategy to like let it come up in your life as often as possible, as fuel, to use it as fuel, to bring aliveness back in to your life. So anyway, how we're playing it now is, doing it for 3 days. And like I said, you got to figure out what it means to you. Then you got to figure out ways that you can replicate it, ways that you have, already had it come up in the past, because that's going to be important, but not just ways that it has already happened for you, but then try to experiment with ways that are new. Just like, okay, I wonder if I could just like go into my room and squeal first, even though I'm not excited, and like replicate that excitement, bring it. What if I make googly faces at myself in the mirror and make myself laugh? Or what if I don't even look at myself in the mirror and I just make the faces, because we already know things like smiling. You can smile even if there's no reason to smile, and you still release those same neurotransmitters that, you need to kind of feel that exhilaration or happiness. So, then you're going to experiment with some ways to bring exhilaration and bring that state of aliveness to you that may not be just you replicating what has already happened in the past. That one's a big one for me, actually. Like, side note and personal confession, like making squeals and noises and like, whatever noises in my, that does it for me. Sometimes it like helps bring some more aliveness or flow into my person. It definitely gets me like, smiling and stuff like that. So, those, or is it like looking at your children's faces? Does that sort of bring you to exhilaration, or singing, or, doing a little dance around your house? But you're finding these ways, you're trying to experiment. And of course, all this doesn't just have to be like pre-thought. Of course, give it some thought before you start this exercise, but you'll be experimenting as you're doing this for 3 days, because you're going to try for 3 days to stay as close to exhilaration as possible, as close to that state of aliveness as you can. And of course it's going to wax and wane, and of course you're going to have to get some things done and do your life, because you can't just like stop life and, bask in exhilaration for 3 days. I mean, maybe you can, maybe take a vacation and do that. But I mean, also life just happens, whether you want it to or not, even on vacation. And so exhilaration doesn't just maintain, and you shouldn't be like going into it with a silly expectation like that. And that's part of it. Like, how do we get it back after it has dipped down and gone away, and how do we kind of stir it back up again and see if we can reignite it and pop it back in? And so that's what we're trying to do. And so you'll have plenty of opportunities for experimenting with various things, if you jump into a cold shower, or if you like run around your house, or if you go listen to some comedy or make a googly face, like I said, what kind of things can bring it up in you? If you are the adventurous type, it's got to be the adventurous things, right? Maybe, or something that gives you that kind of thrill. But if you're the serene type who's getting a thrill of exhilaration and happiness and aliveness from pampering themselves in a jacuzzi tub, well then get in the jacuzzi tub, or massage your own feet, or get a massage, or, ask someone to do something pampering, or think of new ways to pamper yourself, try some new thing that you haven't tried before, some, whatever, sort of paraffin wax on your hands or something. I've seen somebody do that, and I was like, I've never tried that before, so, but apparently it feels amazing. Think about this and get to know yourself deeper as you're asking yourself what will do it for me, and then trying these things out. And you might, try something like my little, squeals that you're like, whoa, that didn't do anything for me. I just felt like a weirdo. Like, all right, cool. Laugh at me then, and maybe that'll do something for you. You'll find some that do work and some that don't, and that's part of it, because then we can cultivate this feeling of aliveness when we want to. And we know more about ourselves and what feels alive to us just from trying this. So I hope you like it. I really like this one.